Tonight, the well uncapped. On day 82 of the spill, oil flows freely as BP prepares to put a new system in place that might contain the spill entirely by Monday. I'm Jeff Glor. Also tonight, Avandia questions. A new FDA report challenges the safety of a diabetes drug still used by 2 million Americans and could lead to its removal from the market. Legal high. Officials scramble to deal with a potent and potentially dangerous synthetic marijuana that is still lawful in more than 40 states. And Iron Kids meet the 6-year-old triathletes who can outswim, outbike, and outrun most of us.
I feel really proud of myself for doing this.
This is the CBS Evening News with Jeff Glor.
And good evening tonight. It is one step backward with the hope of making one huge step forward in the fight to contain the Gulf oil spill. On day 82 now, here's the latest. Robotic subs remove the well cap so it can be replaced with a more complete seal. Oil will flow freely for at least 2 days until the tighter dome is put in place, which could potentially capture all the oil. Mark Strassman is once again in Louisiana tonight. Mark, I guess the question everyone's asking tonight is the end now in sight?
Well, maybe the end of the spill, Jeff, but the leak will go on. We just got off a helicopter after touring a rig right next to the gushing well. Big weekend out there, several major operations going on at once, and BP needs them all to go well.
It was high drama, a mile under the sea. Watch robotic subs next to BP's runaway well remove its loose containment cap and send oil pouring into the Gulf. This leak just got worse, BP says only temporarily, with a flurry of major weekend work ahead.
Driven by this weather window we've got, we're looking to do as much activity as we can.
Just a quarter-mile away, we watched from this rig, the DD2, now drilling one of BP's 2 relief wells. Its workers anticipated the next major step nearby, hooking up another ship, the Helix Producer, to the runaway well with a detachable riser pipe. Here's why. Switching the containment caps should take 3 days. During that time, BP needs the Helix ready to help recover the well's additional gush of oil. That is the Helix Producer right there, in position, but not up and running until tomorrow, and not fully operational until Tuesday. And until it is fully operational, up to another 15,000 gallons of oil will gush into the Gulf until the new cap is on. Containment is the challenge, killing the well is the ultimate goal. Like the DD3 a half-mile away, the DD2's 175 workers drill round the clock. Both wells run parallel to the gusher. DD3 is 2 weeks ahead of DD2, now roughly 18,000 feet below the Gulf surface. Electromagnetic sensors are searching for the ideal spot to intercept the runaway well. The cut, the most precise step of all, should happen in the next week or so. Then 4 pumps will send in heavy mud and cement to kill the well. Mickey Frugier is BP's leader on DD2. He's confident these relief wells will end this crisis, BP's silver bullet. But that's several weeks away at best. And until it happens, like everyone, Frugier wants this spill contained.
We take it personal because we know that we're not familiar with polluting the Gulf of Mexico. Our goal is to stop the oil and get this over with.
For now, the well is pouring freely and worse shape than when the day began. And even if the Helix Producer gets to work tomorrow, 5 million gallons more will have gushed into the Gulf. Jeff?
All right, Mark Strassman tonight. Mark, thank you. We move now to a crucial decision coming next week on the multi-billion-dollar diabetes drug Avandia. 2 million Americans still use the drug, but a scathing report released on Friday said the maker of Avandia downplayed links between the drug and heart failure. Joining us tonight is Dr. Steve Nissen from the Cleveland Clinic, who first published a study questioning the drug's safety in 2007. Doctor, thanks for being with us. Your initial study found that users of Avandia faced a 43% higher risk of heart attack or other problem. GlaxoSmithKline disagreed. The report that came out yesterday, vindication for you?
Well, this is not about vindication. This is about doing the right thing for patients. And unfortunately, it's taken far too long to get this drug off the market. I think we're in the end right now. This is a showdown that's coming up. It's going to be watched by everybody in the world. Here's a drug that has been taken by a lot of people. In 2006, it was the #1 selling diabetes drug in the world. And the evidence has accumulated that it causes an increase in heart attack and death in patients who take this drug.
Since your study, prescriptions have fallen 75%, but it's still a $1.2 billion drug. When this panel meets this week, what happens? Should it be pulled right now?
Well, I expect the FDA will act decisively. There's new leadership there, and these are public health-oriented leaders now at the FDA. If the committee votes to recommend withdrawal, I would expect there to be a decision within a matter of days to a few weeks to pull the drug. And if the U.S. pulls the drug, most of the other regulatory agencies in the world will follow suit.
Dr. Steve Nissen of the Cleveland Clinic joining us tonight. Doctor, thank you very much. Congress returns to Washington next week to face a big backlog of unfinished business, and topping the list is the future of unemployment benefits. Senior White House correspondent Bill Plant has more tonight.
It's been 10 days since senators went home for their July 4th vacation without extending unemployment benefits.
The motion is not agreed to.
They've now run out for more than 1.3 million people, and the Labor Department says that number could rise to 3 million by the end of this month. As he campaigns for Democrats, the president paints the lack of new benefits as Republican heartlessness.
They said no to extended unemployment insurance for folks who desperately needed help.
No! There were protests this week from labor unions against some Senate Republicans. This one in Lexington, Kentucky, directed at the GOP leader, Mitch McConnell, calling for action when the Senate returns next week. But McConnell blames Democrats for refusing to cut spending to pay the $34 billion cost of the extension.
Well, the only reason the unemployment extension hasn't passed is because our friends on the other side simply refuse to pass a bill that does not add to the debt.
Some economists contend that unemployment benefits did not help that much in earlier recessions.
Unemployment was a terribly intractable problem, and we had big benefits. And many folks abused those benefits to stay out of the labor force to do other things they were interested in doing.
Others believe the time to pay for the unemployment benefits is when the economy improves. They argue that the extension is needed right now.
It's the most effective stimulus that can be provided. Many of these people are very hard pressed. They get a check and they spend it, and it helps the economy immediately.
When the Senate returns next week, they will bring the benefit extension to another vote, but not until West Virginia's governor appoints someone to fill the Senate seat of the late Robert Byrd. That should give the Democrats enough votes to pass the extension. Jeff?
Bill Plant at the White House tonight. Bill, thank you. In Afghanistan today, NATO officials say 6 Americans were killed by roadside bombs, small arms fire, and an accidental explosion. 4 died in eastern Afghanistan, 2 in the south. In Boston, hundreds opposed to Arizona's controversial immigration law protested the presence of Arizona Governor Jan Brewer at a meeting there. The law is facing legal challenges from the Justice Department. Arizona was the first, but likely will not be the last. Dozens of states right now are considering enacting similar immigration laws in the coming months. Elaine Quijano has this report from Pennsylvania.
We want to come out of the shadows.
Every day, 23-year-old Jose fears he could be deported. His parents brought him to America illegally from Mexico when he was 2. He grew up in Pennsylvania feeling every bit American, but it wasn't until high school that he realized what it meant to be an illegal immigrant, that he could not pursue his dream of joining the Air Force.
I lost all hope. I said, I can't join the armed forces. I can't get a good job. So basically, I got pushed into the shadows like any other undocumented.
Jose is one of the country's estimated 12 million illegal immigrants, whose status is sparking heated debate. Debate and demonstrations have also erupted over a new Arizona law allowing police to check the immigration status of anyone suspected of being involved in a crime. A recent CBS poll found a majority of Americans, 52%, support the law. Now, other states are preparing to follow Arizona's lead. In Pennsylvania, bipartisan measures to compel construction companies to check worker status are moving swiftly through the legislature. Republican State Representative Daryl Metcalf wants to go further, introducing a tough measure modeled after Arizona's law.
as a nation, we have to set a no amnesty policy, and we have to be very black and white about that there's no reward for violating our borders.
Metcalfe's proposal is already facing fierce opposition.
Here in Philadelphia, where more than half of the immigrant population is illegal, Mayor Michael Nutter says the solution lies with the federal government, not the states.
We should not have a patchwork of immigration policies for every state in the United States of America. That's insane.
Nutter believes the law could create problems for law enforcement, making illegal immigrants afraid to report crimes to police.
We do not want to send the wrong message to victims or witnesses.
But Representative Metcalfe argues illegal immigrants strain city and state budgets by siphoning off health and social services that Americans pay for.
For decades in the past, the federal government has been AWOL in securing our borders and protecting American lives, liberty, and property. So we at the state level need to join together to do so.
As politicians grapple with these issues, people like Jose wait and worry.
I don't remember Mexico. To me, this is my only home.
A country that continues to struggle with this divisive issue. Elaine Quijano, CBS News, Philadelphia.
Still ahead on tonight's CBS Evening News, what to do about K2, the synthetic marijuana that's legal in nearly every state. Across the country, demand for a synthetic form of marijuana is soaring. Unlike the real thing, this drug called Spice, or K2, is legal in most states. But now a handful of lawmakers are taking action. This week, Missouri became the 6th state to ban the use of K2. Here's Seth Doan.
It's a designer drug fad fueled by online videos like these.
I actually feel a little headbutt.
Brian Siegel first heard about it from friends and then saw it on the internet.
The word gets out so quickly, it just spreads like wildfire.
It has names like Spice and Genie, but mostly it's known as K2. It's a synthetic drug with a high likened to marijuana. And if you have not heard of it yet,
thank you for calling the Georgia Poison Center.
They sure have here.
Quick, he's on the floor.
They're up. Is he still?
Yeah, well, he's on the floor. Hello?
Where over 50 calls have come in about K2 in the last 2 months.
We just started seeing a mushrooming of calls.
Nationwide, more than 500 people have phoned poison centers about the drug already this year, up from just 12 calls last year. It's packaged in brightly colored bags, but may only look harmless.
This is incredibly dangerous.
The director of the Georgia Poison Center says K2 can be up to 15 times more powerful than marijuana and lead to a disturbing range of symptoms.
We've seen people with slight tremors to even seizure activity.
Still, K2 is legal in 44 states and easy to get anywhere.
You can order it online and you can get it in magazines.
It's easy to get.
It's very easy to get.
It's not detected by drug tests either.
Like a dream come true for an addict.
Jason Schmieder says he tried the drug more than 50 times until he wound up first in the hospital.
That was the final straw.
And then here at the Phoenix House, a drug treatment center outside New York City. Meanwhile, the DEA is trying to learn what's in the drug itself. We were granted rare access at this special testing facility near Washington, D.C.
They'll market it as incense or they'll market it as bath salt because then they can say that it wasn't intended for human consumption.
DEA Special Agent Gary Boggs says these tests are part of deciding whether K2 should be a controlled substance.
What do you say to people who say, well, this isn't illegal, I'll try it?
The fact that they're legal really is almost irrelevant. People are they're basically playing Russian roulette with these every single time they take them.
That's a gamble that means months of rehab for Jason Schmieder.
I thought I was having a heart attack. So yeah, that was like the scariest moment of my life. It's not worth it. It's not worth it.
A warning he worries is drowned out by a quickly spreading reputation. A powerful high that's hard to detect and easy to find. Seth Doan, CBS News, New York.
In many ways, these are the best of times for anyone looking to buy a house. The average rate for a 30-year mortgage fell this week to 4.57%, the lowest on record. But there's a downside to low interest rates. Savers are getting returns of less than 1% right now. Rebecca Jarvis has more.
I-21.
These senior citizens enjoy betting on a harmless game of bingo. G49. And they thought it was a safe bet to keep their savings in the bank.
The cushion that we had is gone.
82-year-old Rose Smoot didn't lose her cushion in the stock market.
I have to watch everything I spend.
She and retirees at this New Jersey senior center are squeezed because the interest on their savings has plummeted.
I got my bank statement the other day and I thought 0.25 for a money market account. I mean, how low can you go?
3 years ago, when interest rates were above 5%, $100,000 in a certificate of deposit could earn more than $5,000 a year. Today, the same CD earns only a quarter of that, about $1,500 annually. Interest rates have been at historic lows since December 2008, when the Federal Reserve cut its lending rate to emergency levels.
The idea was lower interest rates to zero, and it will help bail out the banks.
David Callahan, a senior fellow at the think tank Demos, says consumers never got a break.
The banks are borrowing money for free, turning around and charging consumers 16% on their credit cards, 6% on their auto loans. The banks are making a killing.
Now, one voting member of the Fed is advocating a policy change.
That 0% rate has served its purpose.
Thomas Honig, president of the Kansas City Fed, wants to raise rates gradually, starting with a 1% hike over the next 3 to 6 months.
I'm not advocating for high interest rates. We want to get off of zero, let the markets begin to work, not guarantee a margin to the banks so that they're more interested in making loans to businesses.
Higher interest rates cannot come soon enough for John Hawk, who worked 42 years at General Motors before retiring.
I'm on a fixed income, and without that extra interest money coming into these accounts, I'm just working the path to downhill.
A path these seniors and other savers want to reverse. Rebecca Jarvis, CBS News, New York.
Wow.
Today in Cleveland, 2 days after LeBron James said he was going to the Miami Heat, workers began taking down the famous, now infamous, 10-story high James banner. Still ahead on tonight's CBS Evening News, Iron Kids, young triathletes in a race for fitness and fun. Finally tonight, many schools have canceled gym classes and closed down sports programs. But there could be a new tonic for America's obesity epidemic. And that is the focus of tonight's Weekend Journal, the country's newest endurance athletes. Early on a Sunday morning, when most of their friends are sleeping or watching cartoons, a hearty band of kids as young as 6 are lining up at the edge of a lake ready for their very first triathlon. The littlest ones will swim 50 yards, bike 2 miles, and run 500 yards. They say the swim is the hardest part.
The water was pretty scary because when you look under, there's green everywhere, just green stuff.
The older kids, 12 to 15-year-olds, will do more than most adults could manage. 300 yards in the lake, 8 miles on a bike, and then a 2-mile run. If it sounds like an Ironman for kids, it is. It's Iron Kids.
I trained for the Iron Kids. I trained every day. I swam every other day.
I really want to get out there and prove that I can do something really awesome and cool.
On race day, they show up just after dawn, setting up their equipment. Mom and Dad, many of them triathletes themselves, stand by to help. And then the race begins. The number of kids doing distance races is booming. USA Triathlon says their youth membership doubled from 2007 to 2009, from 16,000 to 31,000 kids. Half were 10 or younger. And at a time when 1 in 3 American kids is obese, organizers say the races aren't about winning, they're about getting kids to exercise and love it.
A lot of kids can swim, bike, and run. They don't have to be triathletes, or they might not know they're triathletes, but they'll get on their bike and they'll ride down to the lake and swim around, and then they'll play tag and run around. That's a triathlon.
With seemingly endless energy, the kids still seem to have plenty left when they cross the finish line.
Look at this enthusiasm!
Gaining a medal, as well as self-esteem and a sense of pride.
I learned that if you just keep on trying and don't give up, that you can do
about anything.
I just said, Evan, come on, I'm an Iron Man, just keep pushing.
For these young athletes, there's no agony of defeat,
You are an Iron Kid!
only the thrill of victory.
I feel really proud of myself for doing this.
How awesome is that kid? That is the CBS Evening News tonight. Russ Mitchell will be here tomorrow night. I'm Jeff Glor, CBS News in New York. Good night.